Hello, I'm Christine. I'm the neuropsychologist working within the Long COVID Psychology Services across North West London. I'm here today to provide some information about the neuropsychological aspects of brain fog. The aims of this part of the group are to provide information about cognitive functions, outline the main cognitive domains, and provide examples of how we might use these in our daily lives. To start with, I thought it would be helpful to define what cognitive functions are. Cognitive function refers to a variety of different but related mental abilities and skills. They help us navigate our lives by acquiring knowledge, processing information, and helping us achieve our goals. Cognitive functions are involved in all aspects of learning, problem solving, reasoning, remembering, attention, and decision making. These mental processes allow us to have an active role in understanding, navigating, and relating to the world around us. The way or the how we learn, remember, process information, and problem solve are what underpin these mental processes. It is these functions, rather than the actual knowledge itself, that we refer to when we talk about cognitive function. When thinking about cognitive functions, we tend to break these down into different domains. The domains we most commonly refer to are as follows: attention, language, visual perceptual and visuospatial perception, memory, and executive functioning. Let's go through and have a think about these one by one. Starting with attention, this refers to the ability to actively process specific information in the environment whilst ignoring or filtering out other distractions. Language refers to the ability to understand and express thoughts through spoken and written information. This allows us to communicate with others. Visual perception and visuospatial perception refers to the visual elements of our world that allows us to take in and make sense of the world around us. This involves making judgments about depth, distance, colour, and motion based on the visual information that our eyes pass to our brain. Memory refers to the process of storing, retaining, and later retrieving information when we need it. It can affect both short-term information, which we refer to as short-term memory, and information that needs to be kept for a longer period of time, which we refer to as long-term memory. Memory is a critical aspect of the learning process. Finally, we have executive functions. Executive functions is an umbrella term that encompasses many different functions, but generally more complex thinking processes. It is often known as the CEO of the brain and takes a role in coordinating the other mental processes that are occurring. Executive functions are involved in planning, problem solving, organisation, and skills such as thinking before you act or stopping yourself from acting on impulse. Now that we know what cognitive functions are, it can be helpful to think about how they work in practice. Let's use the example of walking to the local shop to get bread and milk and think about each domain in turn. Let's start with memory. We use memory to recall the items or tasks that we need to help us with our daily lives. In our example of walking to the local shop for bread and milk, we might use memory in the following ways. We might use it to remember the route, such as going to the supermarket or the corner shop. We might use it to remember to take important information, such as our keys, phone, and ways to pay. And we might use it to remember the items we want to buy once we reach the shop. So in this case, bread and milk. Moving on to attention. Using our example, attentional processes may come into play while we wait for the green man before crossing the road. We may also use attention when going into the shop and buying what we came for, whilst ignoring the items we do not need. Thinking about visual perceptual and visual spatial skills, these relate to the visual tasks we undertake in our daily lives. These might include processing the visual information at the crossing, For example, determining it's a green man rather than a red man, and understanding this means it's safe to cross. Being able to navigate your surroundings by not bumping into people or objects when walking around and shopping for the items. And being able to pick up the items off the shelf without over or under reaching for them. Let's think about language. Language allows us to communicate with others and understand information. Examples of this might be reading the information on the packages of what we are going to buy and understanding what it says. Understanding the question if someone asks, do you need any help, and being able to respond appropriately. And saying thank you to the shop assistant at the till after paying for the items. Lastly, let's think about executive functions. Executive functions work as the CEO of the brain, mental processes that coordinate other cognitive functions. In practice, this might include planning how and when you might execute a task. For example, you might want to go to the shops after work, but before you start preparing dinner. Controlling your behaviour, which might include restraining from buying confectionery items at the checkout, and monitoring and adapting a task. For example, if the store is out of the usual loaf of bread that you buy, think of an alternative and then going ahead and purchasing that instead. So thinking about neuropsychology, during the group, if you have any questions about the information that we've discussed or just about neuropsychology and long COVID more generally, please make a note of it and ask your group facilitators. They can pass these questions on to me and I'll be happy to try and answer them for you by next week's session. Thank you.